name's Annabelle and I help teachers to ditch the overwhelm, stop overthinking and avoid burnout. And over the last couple of weeks, I have been on interviews with teachers and I've also been chatting to a few teachers on Instagram. One of the questions that came to me on the interview was, how do you know you're experiencing burnout? Another question that hit my inbox on Instagram was, I'm currently in a situation where I've been off work and I'm really exhausted and I feel that I might be burnt out. How do I recover? And that is how the free guide to supporting teachers to recover from burnout came about. And if you would like your copy, you can, of course, just click below and you will see a link to download your copy so that you can take the 6 steps, the 6 pillars of health and confidence to regain your body's balance. Now, today I'm going to be going through these 5 stages of burnout so you can, even if you don't download the guide, get a bit more clarity on where you may be. Now, this is not a diagnosis, it's just an awareness of yourself and how you can start taking simple steps without adding to that to-do list to feel happier, fitter, healthier, and more confident than ever before. And here we have it, the teacher's guide. So I'm going to scroll down a little bit. If you want a guide, you can, as I mentioned, just click below to grab yours. And if I just jump down here, this is a little bit more about what burnout is and some of the things you can experience. But I'm going to be talking today about the stages of burnout, or what I like to call break. And whether you choose to have a break or whether you are about to break, one of the two. So you want to make that choice on how you're going to start to help yourself find that happy balance. So the first stage is where we all kind of want to sit at in life, and this is the bliss stage. And what we mean by this is you're in a situation where you're passionate about your job, maybe when you first start teaching and you're really enthusiastic, you're creative, you've got energy, and you've got that commitment. Now, my goal as a coach is to help give the strategies and skills to gift people the opportunity to stay in this area. But 80% of the population, whether teachers or not, often drift out of this area. Mainly because we have an environment that is particularly fast with technology, with everything happening, and you need to know your boundaries and be able to stick to them to be able to stay in your bliss period. So if you start to creep out of this bliss period where you're able to cope with initial stresses well and have adaptive coping strategies, then you're going to switch into the reaction stage. So reaction is when we start getting triggered. Have you ever had a conversation, just snapped at someone, or you find yourself getting irritable? It's when these initial triggers start to kick in our limbic system and you're like, oh, tech talk. We're talking about the brain and the sections of the brain that respond or react. Now, your limbic system is a way for your body to react to a situation, and it is a lot quicker than your decision-making center. And this is why I often speak to people within the balance method about breathing first, so that we can switch that off and we have the coping strategy to use our decision-making center of our brain in our prefrontal cortex. Now, enough of that science stuff. For now, what I really want you to understand is that the reaction is when you notice your behavior is starting to react rather than respond to situations around you. Your job satisfaction starts to deteriorate, the negative thinking starts to come in, genuinely feeling fatigued. Maybe you find that you're laying awake at night and overthinking, and emotional eating starts to creep in. So we start to find comfort with foods or trying to escape with wine or coffee to keep us going. So we're starting to react to how our body is getting heavier. And we will start to have these emotional reactions, whether it's with food, whether it's with arguments, or whether we find ourselves just generally getting negative about the job or finding things are feeling quite heavy. And that's the reaction stage, which is where many people sit, where they're kind of in that reaction stage and they're not really sure how to calm their body's adrenals back down and how to find that happy work-life balance. However, if this persists for too long, so if you start to have this situation and it persists for a long period of time, that's when we hit exhaustion. And what we mean by exhaustion is when those reactions become more intensified. So we're in a situation of chronic exhaustion, and when we're feeling depression, every day we wake up, it's hard to get out of bed, everything feels difficult, and you're possibly going to start to feel that you're getting physical illnesses, because when our adrenals are depleted and our body is under chronic stress, our immune system is affected too. simply because the immune system is the part of your body that requires a lot of energy, an amazing amount of energy. So when we start to lose the ability to have energy on a day-to-day basis, that's one of the systems that is not working at full force to protect you. So depression, anger, and possible physical illness can start to become a daily occurrence. Now, this is where we're starting to move into the chronic area. As I mentioned, most and the majority of people will be at the beginning. And my job as a coach is to help you to rewind these stages to get back to that bliss period. After exhaustion, what's next? Before that, well, after that, we're going to hit acceleration, which means those physical symptoms intensify. We start to reach the severe depression. We start to really try to escape and isolate ourselves, possibly always being negative about everything, work or not. And generally, self-doubt dominates. So we question everything we do. We're confused with our thoughts, aka brain fog, and just overthinking, work frustrations constantly becomes obsessive, to a point where we're always doubting, we're always in that negative aura and really feeling stuck in where we are. If this continues for longer and we continue to feel this way without reaching out for support or guidance or help in any way, or taking any actions to move ourselves back in the periods that we've just been through, then we hit the known section. And what we mean by the known section is the symptoms become so embedded in life that a label of significant illness or emotional problem can be attached. So we can start to become diagnosed with certain situations. And this is something that happened to me in my early 20s. As I'm slowly growing and getting older, I was diagnosed with dissociative disorder. And dissociative disorder basically meant that my body would replicate epileptic seizures, because it's something that I'd had in the past. My body knew how to do it. But in matter of fact, it was a faint. So emotions had been pushed down so low from a trauma that I'd experienced when I was about 12. I'd pushed it down so long. I hadn't processed those emotions to a point where I'd hit my early 20s and my body was just trying to escape. It was no longer just my mind. I wasn't just isolating myself. I was in a situation where I was literally passing out to not have to deal with anything around me. And it wasn't a case of just new emotional triggers, light sensitivity. I would find that my blood sugars would drop before lunch and I would pass out before lunchtime every single day. And what would happen is, because these stressors that were natural for most people were too strong for my body to deal with, I would completely try to escape, and I got the diagnosis. So I'd hit complete burnout. I'm glad to say I've been seizure free for about 5 years now, and the coping strategies that I teach my clients have managed to rewind me all the way back to that bliss period, which I get to enjoy every single day. So from me to you, I do hope that's been useful. And remember, it's not a diagnosis. It's just about understanding your body well enough and knowing how that you can bring yourself back on track by using the balance method, by knowing your 6 pillars of health and confidence, so that yes, you may feel stresses in your life, but you will have the coping strategies to get yourself back on track. I hope you found today's video really useful. If you want to get in contact, I have dropped all of the information below. So if you feel that you're in any one of those stages and would like to learn the coping strategies, then please do feel free to get in contact. And as I mentioned, I'm also going to drop a link to the burnout guide so that you can get your own copy and start working through those 6 pillars of health and confidence. Speak soon.